All right, for the Australian Turf Club, it's a real treat to have trainer Anthony Cummings with us. How are you, Anthony?
Very well.
It is a race, isn't it, the Everest? And that's what this podcast is all about, that has conversation, chatter all year round.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty exciting. And like everyone, even in Melbourne now, people are winning sprint races down there and saying that their first thought is to go to the Everest. So it is something that's captured the imagination of all the participants, certainly, but the public as well.
What was it like having a runner last year?
Oh, it's pretty good. I mean, it's exciting. And, I've been in a long time, all my life, and the exciting days like that are fewer and further between. But certainly being in the Everest and the buzz around it was very, very good.
She's an interesting horse, Libertini. Very, very talented.
She is. I suppose that the trick with her is just trying to keep her together and trying to keep her sort of form consistent. But I mean, to have something that good is great for the stable, and it'd be nice to sort of turn around on the right day and get a win like that.
And what did you make of her performance in last year's race?
Oh, I think we've gone pretty much straight after the gates opened. We got back in the wrong part of the race. I had an idea where she needed to be, and unfortunately Regan didn't get there, and that really cost us at the finish. I mean, she made good ground and hit the line okay, but I think had she sat where we originally planned to, that she'd have been much better off.
What about this year? Are you getting the phone working?
Oh yeah, there's been a couple of chats about where she might finish up, and at this stage I'm reasonably confident we'll get a slot. After a gallop yesterday morning, certainly confident that she's back in the right form. She had her first serious gallop on Saturday morning on the course proper here at Randwick. She had a gallop on the Kenzo on Tuesday, taking a really good step from one to the next.
Well, there's a curious thing about Libertini, because many racehorses, and as you say, you've been in it your whole life training them as well, is that most horses take a couple of runs. They need they maybe jump out a barrier trial, first up, second up, and then they really hit what is their best form in their third race. But she's different.
Oh, she is, and very, as you say, up and very good fresh, and she's been the same every preparation. I mean, the first race start, she gave Bivouac probably his biggest head start ever and ran into about a length and a half, and we probably didn't appreciate how good a run that was at the time. But Bivouac came out to be the premier sprinter there for or thereabouts, for the next 18 months or 2 years. So certainly the best sprinting 3-year-old of his generation. So to be up and competitive with those sorts of horses, Nature Strip and the like. I mean, it's great to be there, great to be part of the main game.
Does it take a little bit of extra convincing from your point of view to when you're talking to either Jerry Harvey, the owner, or those that may put Libertini in their slot?
Be convinced yourself in the first place, before you can convince somebody else. So at the end of the day, I think the horse does the talking, and she inspires confidence in those around her, and from there, it's a fairly easy sell.
What about the race itself? Were you surprised it took on the sense of imagination that it did as quick as it did?
I like the concept. I mean, the first time it was done like that, to my knowledge, was the race in the States, and that was it was a hell of a race. But the thing that got me, we were at the sales, I think it was in New Zealand. Everyone wanted to watch it. I mean, it really did capture people's imaginations to have that sort of a match race type setup, and by invitation. I mean, that promoted the idea that it was the best of the best. And people love those sorts of competitions in any sport, especially racing, and that's what it provided. So when you saw that sort of excitement amongst people that had been 20 years longer than me, you really knew that it was a concept that was going to grow legs. I think the way that it was done here in Sydney with Peter Volandes Racing New South Wales was above and beyond what was tried in the States, and the longevity of it certainly proves that.
What other horses are you looking forward to in the spring from the Anthony Cummings stable?
Oh, we've got some nice horses. A lot of emerging 3-year-olds. There's a colt called Tri-State. He's going very well. There's another horse called Dufresne that's had a couple of starts now and promises quite a lot. There's a filly Stray that we really quite like. There's a couple of Zoo Star fillies that are going particularly well and will start to make their presence felt. As the spring we get deeper into the spring. So yeah, some nice horses here. And of course, Dancho is a horse that came from overseas. He was a bit disappointing first up, but he's shown enough here in his track work to say that he'll make his presence felt when he sort of finds his feet.
Yeah, but it wasn't the worst run in the world, was it? Because he got out a bit wide.
Yeah. It was 3D Pace of Breeze, first up for a couple of years on what was a rain-affected track to some degree. All of those things sort of made it tougher for him. He got on one rein a little bit down the running, Tim said, so he basically went to the line untested. But as we've seen from his previous form and the form that got him out to Australia on that, he's well and truly in some of these Group 1 races up to his ears when we get to there.
It has been a bit of a dark, cold winter, hasn't it? And we didn't anticipate it. I think everyone thought that, we've got through this. But the racing continued, which is good. And look, there are definitely, if I can quote our Premier, green shoots in and around racing, with the idea of crowds starting to come back in some form in October, and sort of by the time we hit spring, things normalising a bit.
Yeah, normal would be good. I mean, you don't appreciate it until you haven't got it, but it'll be great to see the crowds back and life getting back to something like normal.
How hard is it to run a stable when it's so far from normal?
In terms of stable, it's not that much different. I mean, we live in a bubble anyway. In terms of the times that we keep for when the stable's open and running, we live in and work in a part of the time frame that not many people do. So and that means that you're sleeping and working and playing at different times to others. So it hasn't been that different. I suppose the difference is more for the owners and their ability to come along and be involved in this. So, we miss the interaction with them coming out, showing the horses, that sort of stuff. So the guys that come to track work haven't been able to do that either. So, those guys are in it for those things, and they've been missing out. And, they're the ones that will be cheering when the gates get open again.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you still feel that real magic through the veins when you walk across and see the steam coming off the top of the horses on a beautiful Randwick morning?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's the best part of the day. We've had some great mornings just recently. Certainly more to come through the spring, and looking forward to that. And as you say, the steam coming off them, and when they come back from work, you see how they are, what the riders' reports are, and you start to get a bit of a gauge of what spring you might have.
Well, okay. Well, if we have to frame a market, you have to get the Anthony Cummings crystal ball out here. If 100% was that she's definitely in the Everest, what kind of percentage do you reckon you're going to give it? With I know you're not going to divulge too many of your discussions at this point.
Yeah, I reckon it's probably 80% that she's in. I suppose there's always a chance something goes wrong, but I think from where she's up to, the way she's working, I think she'll sell herself.
All right, mate. Always great to chat, Anthony. We'll catch up with you through the spring. Thanks for joining us for the Australian Turf Club.
A pleasure.